A second ultimatum from US President Donald Trump for his Russian counterpart to agree to ceasefire talks in Ukraine has passed without any action from the White House. Our ABC correspondent Ben Knight is in Washington. Ben, what was the deadline, and is this hugely surprising? A lot of people expected that Vladimir Putin might not do very much at all.
Well, exactly right, James. It's an interesting one, this one, because it stems from a comment that Donald Trump made exactly 2 weeks ago today, where he said something along the lines of, well, I'm going to give Vladimir Putin 1 or 2 weeks to work out what he's going to do about agreeing to a meeting with Volodymyr Zelenskyy. Now, that's pretty true to form for Donald Trump. You'll often hear him talk about in a couple of weeks or in a few weeks. It's a way of, I guess, pushing things out that he may not want to talk about it at the time, or may not have an answer to it at the particular time. And it's pretty effective because a lot of the time the news cycle simply moves on and it doesn't come around again. But in this case, he is being held to account for that deadline that he apparently set, not just by Volodymyr Zelenskyy, but also by the French President Emmanuel Macron. So Volodymyr Zelenskyy tweeted about this overnight. He said 2 weeks ago in Washington, it was stated that by this time the Russians should be ready for real negotiations, a meeting at the leaders' level. Ukraine is definitely ready for this, he said, but the only thing Russia is doing is investing further in war. And we know it's been a particularly heavy weekend of bombardment on Ukraine. But also from the French President Emmanuel Macron, who really had a dig at the US President. He said, if that meeting or that decision doesn't happen by Monday, that is today local time, the deadline set by President Trump, it means once again that President Putin played Donald Trump. So that's a pretty strong statement there. So look, it's not the first time, as you say, that Vladimir Putin has ignored some kind of deadline or ultimatum from Donald Trump. The last one was back on August the 8th. Donald Trump, that was a firm deadline. Donald Trump set the deadline of August the 8th for Vladimir Putin to agree to a ceasefire in Ukraine. It didn't happen. Sanctions had been threatened. That didn't happen. In fact, what Vladimir Putin got was a red carpet treatment in Alaska and a summit with the US President. They sat down and nothing happened out of that either. And it's interesting to see where Vladimir Putin is at the moment. He's on another red carpet in Shanghai, meeting with the leaders of India and China and other members of the Shanghai Cooperation Organisation. So, look, we haven't heard from Donald Trump on this today, but it's interesting that those two other leaders really are holding him to account on this deadline.
Yeah, so Donald Trump hasn't had anything to say today so far?
Well, he has posted on his social media account. He's talked about tariffs, he's talked about crime, he's talked about drug prices, and he's sent out a message celebrating Labor Day. It's the Monday Labor Day holiday here in the United States. But he certainly hasn't had anything to say about this. His Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent has been speaking on Fox News today. He said, we're going to discuss sanctions later this week. Look, who knows what will come out of that. But look, it is quite interesting anyway, because we haven't seen Donald Trump in public or heard from Donald Trump in public since last Wednesday, the day after that cabinet meeting. Now, that might not sound unusual, certainly not for previous presidents, but it is for Donald Trump. Last Wednesday we were told that he would be signing some executive orders and making public comments. That was closed to the media, and he really hasn't been seen since. Interesting to see what's going on social media over here at the moment. It's been running on fire all weekend with theories and conspiracy theories about where the president is. He will presumably put his head up at some stage, but nothing today.